today?
What's in my cup today? My cup is holding a Snickers candy bar from which I get sugar and energy. If you beat me down too hard, I'll be able to recover with a quick bite of a Snickers. Thank you, Brad.
Chocolate is the way, that is for sure. Why do you think people should choose you this upcoming election?
All politicians talk about their experience, but it's not just political experience I've got. I'm one of the lucky few in Lee County who was actually born here back in 1941. So I've been able to understand and appreciate the growth and the challenges that means. I've also been able to appreciate how beautiful the area was and what a paradise it was that many years back. And I've observed what uncareful, rampant development can do to this paradise that we all love to call home. And because of that unique knowledge that comes with having been a native and growing up around here and watching all this growth, I think I'm in a position to take advantage of where I see the mistakes were made in the past and make sure we try to eliminate them. And to the extent possible, try to preserve the areas that the Calusa Indians found here 2,000 years ago and that the Spanish found here 500 years ago. That's why people keep coming here and staying here, because it is such a paradise. And my whole political career, and I was honored to serve in the Florida legislature for 12 years back in the 70s and 80s, my whole career has been devoted to making certain that our grandchildren will still have some of the same parts of this paradise to enjoy as I was able to in my entire life here in Lee County. So it's that kind of experience and a love and an appreciation for the area that I think gives me a little bit of an advantage over a fellow who just came down the pike and says, I'm here to serve you. I'm from the government and that sort of thing.
Do you think that Lee County is doing enough for businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19?
Oh, gosh, yes. But I won't pat myself on the back and say that it's because anything that Lee County initiated. The fact is that under the act passed by Congress 6 weeks ago, we were eligible for a huge amount of federal money. Actually, it's around $436 million that Uncle Sam sent us a check for that amount. And it was to deal specifically with the impact of the coronavirus. And we have, that was so much money that we have only been able to find uses that we could justify in the neighborhood of just over 100 million at this point. We still got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. So we've adopted programs we never thought about before. We don't have a rule book for this terrible pandemic. And so we're making up some as we go along, and we're looking for meaningful things to do to protect jobs or protect people without jobs who have been negatively impacted. But gosh, yes, we are not through finding meaningful ways to help stem the damage done by this awful pandemic. So yes, we're doing a whole lot, but I need to thank Washington, D.C. and the Congress and the president for sending those dollars to us. We were initiating some relatively minor steps to deal with the impact, but at this point, it's an enormous amount of response that we have been able to muster here.
Do you think Lee County is doing enough to slow the spread of COVID-19?
Frankly, I think we could be doing more. I am a minority on the commission at this point, although understand while we're taping this, we are still on a vacation, which the commission for years has taken off on the month of July, and we try to get everybody to go at the same time so we don't have a difficulty in getting a quorum. So though we haven't met, and I only know what my commissioners or my colleagues are thinking by what I read and see them on the news saying. But right now, there doesn't seem to be any inclination by my 4 colleagues to adopt a mandatory mask ordinance, for instance. I lean toward doing that, as do all of the professionals. Just this morning, we got a letter from all of the medical personnel at Lee Health Systems asking us to do that. Dozens of other folks have come forward, professionals and non-professionals, asking us to do that. And I hope we're going to be meeting again just next week, August 4th. And this subject will come up, and I hope maybe we can be more forceful in addressing it that time. Yes, I think there's more that can be done. We have said that as a matter of policy, we encourage everybody to be wearing masks when they're in public, but it is not, it doesn't have the strength of law behind it yet.
Where do you stand when it comes to giving money to corporations?
It's a matter of timing. I supported some of those corporate grants back in 07 and 08. When we were experiencing the worst depression of our lifetime. And everybody remembers those horrible 5 years. And everybody, like we're responding to the pandemic today, everybody in government was saying, what can we do that will help us create some jobs? Because we were up to 22% unemployment in Lee County. And folks are saying, how can we create jobs? And one of the things that we came up with was these, and the way to induce corporate investment was to see if we could make some matching funds available and various grants available to where businesses would come to Lee County and create jobs. The Hertz grant came out of that, and it was a time when we created like 400 jobs, an average salary of which was around $60,000. And frankly, not many, there wasn't much opposition to that, if any. It seemed like a great idea because Lee County and most of America was flat on its back because of the awful recession, and then some compared to the depression. We also at the county level, we found all of the projects that were like road projects that were scheduled to come online in the next year or two, and we did everything we could to move them forward and put county money on those contracts so that jobs could be created, roads could be repaired that we needed anyway. We just moved them forward because we had some reserve cash that we were able to take advantage of. So at the time, during a terrible recession, not unlike what the federal government had done, and they were doing the similar things back in 07, 08, it seemed like a good idea. Today, and now we've got the additional conflict of the pandemic. It's making us kind of rethink some of those things and ask the question whether we should pull some more of these projects off the shelves and do what we did before. I'm not ready to do that yet to a large extent because of what I spoke about earlier. We have so many dollars that the federal government has flooded into Lee County that I don't think any additional Lee County money, taxpayers' money, is called for at this time. Back in 07, 08, it seemed like the right thing to do. I supported it at that time. I would be reluctant to move for any similar program at this time.
Is water quality still an issue that's top of mind for you?
Lisa, that I was asked to fill out a questionnaire for some political interest group a couple of weeks or maybe months ago now. It said, what are the main issues facing Lee County? And I said, water, water, water. Water has always been a serious issue here. we made so many mistakes for at least 100 years. If you go back to 1950 and back up 100 years from then, that's when we were straightening rivers like the Kissimmee River, and that we were allowing all kinds of farm waste, cow pies flooding into the river and then coming down into Lake Okeechobee. And 100 years ago, a guy named Hamilton Distant had cut a hole between the lake and the Caloosahatchee River and closed that last 3 to 4 miles, or opened it for discharge directly from Okeechobee. So all of that waste and nutrients that was coming down has then for 100 years been washing into the Caloosahatchee River and into Estero Bay. And we did that because it seemed like the right thing to do at the time, because Florida was a place that was barely occupied at all, but it was a place where you could grow food for a growing nation year round. And everything we did at the time seemed like the right thing to do. But we have found now that we have polluted we've poisoned the very waters that we depend on for our own survival and our future survival. So we have spent, meaning the federal government through the Corps of Engineers, the state of Florida, the South Florida Water Management District Board, and Lee County, we have collectively spent hundreds of $millions to try to get a handle on those 100 years of mistakes that we made. And we're not there by a long shot, but we have made great progress. But there will not be a Lee County commissioner serving in the foreseeable future who will not have to deal with the demands to restore our freshwater supplies and our salt water, because a lot of that pollution goes straight on into Estero Bay, and if we don't purify it, and as I said, we've made some great steps. We have a holding pond out here in Hendry County, just to the east of Lee County, that is 18 square miles. It's being built right now, and the idea there was, instead of flushing all this fresh water that's so pollutant laden into Estero Bay during the rainy season, we can hold it and let it settle out. And those are the kind of things that those commissioners in the future will have to continue to deal with. Southwest Florida and Lee County depends on fresh, clean water, and we've got it mostly today, but there are still, when the rains come and the floods come, we've got some serious issues we still have not totally corrected.
Your opponent recently has come under fire, I guess you could say, for some comments made in an email, and I didn't know if you wanted to issue any kind of response to that.
Oh, yeah, I saw a copy of the email. The email came to all of the Lee County commissioners, and it was distributed by the media quite widely, where he had made an unfortunate use of the oft referred to as the N word, and it's just something I have never seen in all the years I've been privileged to serve in public office. I've never seen anybody use that term, and it was embarrassing. He's tried to explain it away as he really meant it as a quote. It was very unfortunate. I'm sorry he did it, but I'll leave it for him to try to explain how he got his tongue twisted around in his mouth. And well, this was actually printed on his own email, but I'll leave it to him to try to explain it. But Lisa, this is awfully good of you and Fox TV to do what you're doing. This pandemic has made it impossible for us to have many of the public meetings where we go out and various little community groups, and they come and they ask us questions, and we get to debate and talk about the issues of the day. We can't do that because of the pandemic, and when we go, we have to wear our masks, and we can't talk to each other and shake hands or kiss babies. all that sort of thing. So this is very good of you and you guys at the station. So my gratitude to all of y'all for doing your part to keep America free.
Well, of course, we appreciate your feedback too. This is something we found very important. And even with the limitations of this pandemic, we wanted to make sure that, we asked you guys these important questions. We got the answers so that the people can go through and find these interviews on our website and listen to them and, make their informed decisions. My last thing is if there's anything else you want to add.
No, but I want to thank you personally for your great questions and keeping this time moving quickly. I didn't even have to go to my Snickers bar because you've been so good at being the MC here. Thanks so very much.